everyone. I know I'm not the face that you usually see on Wednesday, but fear not, Indy and I have just swapped for this week and I will be talking to you about periods. Hurrah! Not really hurrah. That was ironic. This week we've talked about the various names and euphemisms for periods. I'll mean reds, because I don't really think that Holly Golightly was talking about anxiety. I fail to believe that. We've also talked about the huge disparity between access to sanitation and tampons and sanitary towels. Anyway, I've had my period since I was 9, and it brought a plethora of different problems, as some of them have been mentioned by Becca in her video. What I want to talk about is the slightly less icky, but by no means less debilitating and difficult to deal with side of the menstrual cycle, which is the psychological effects of PMS and people's reactions to it in my experience. According to the NHS, symptoms of this include mood swings, feeling upset or emotional, feeling irritable or angry, depressed mood, crying and tearfulness, anxiety, difficulty concentrating. That's an interesting one, because that's not really something that is often mentioned, but I definitely find it impossible to concentrate when I'm on my period. Confusion and forgetfulness is one, restlessness and decreased self-esteem. I've also heard, I'm not sure if this is an official one, and maybe put in the comments if you find this, do you get more clumsy when you're on your period? Because I do. The week before I drop everything, and I don't know whether that's just me, whether that's a legit thing or not. Please tell me if I'm alone in that. These symptoms are not a joke. For me, and about 3 to 5% apparently of people affected by PMS have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or premenstrual dysphoria, or PMDD as it's also known. And these aren't, for people like me and that 3 to 5%, these aren't just symptoms which can be easily brushed aside or dealt with, and nor are they suitable topics for punchlines. That's really irritating, actually. Basically, the symptoms of PDD are similar to depression, and it's distinguished from other mental health disorders, cyclical nature of the symptoms and their correspondence to other physical symptoms of PMS, such as the pain and the cramps. Now, I didn't actually know about this until shockingly recently, given the fact that I've actually had symptoms of it since I was in primary school. I'm not sure whether this is my personal fault or the fault of my education, but I was never aware of this. I've been to the doctors for years about it, and they didn't mention it as even a slight suggestion. I've been through counselling and tried countless methods, only to be left feeling that there was nothing wrong with me and I'd been making it all up, which, when you're about 10 or 11, is kind of a bit scary. The symptoms of depression, as my doctors understood, didn't quite fit with what I was experiencing, and therefore I was dismissed as okay, and they ended all my counselling sessions, which were quite a few years after my moods became a problem, and only to have the issue come back around once more. Yeah, so it didn't really help. Okay, I feel that, and this is my personal experience, of course, and not one of all women in the UK who suffer from the extreme symptoms of PMS. I think I've been dismissed because it's just hormones. I myself, when realising the correlation between my periods and my mental health, I felt that the perception of PMDD was that it was less debilitating and less damaging to my personal relationships with my family and friends, because it wasn't depression, it wasn't bipolar disorder, it was just hormones, just PMS. And everybody has PMS, right? Told to deal with it better, I've been told to grow up, because people felt that my reasons for being so god-awfully morose and suicidal were not good enough, because they're just your hormones. They shouldn't be making you feel like that. You're doing something wrong. I would love to know other people's experiences with PMDD, or just really bad PMS, if that's what you get, because I've never really spoken about it to many other people than my very, very close friends. So basically my questions would be, how well educated were you about it? Were you diagnosed by your doctor? And how do people react to it? If you tell them all, how do people react to your PMS symptoms? Because in my case, all of these have been quite negative, which links to my next point. When the topic was suggested for this week, I was less than happy. I just didn't really want to talk about my period because it's not something that I'm that comfortable with, which is ridiculous, seeing as it's something that is completely natural and inevitable for many people with uteri. I felt, and I kind of still feel, I suppose, that people might view it as like an extended moaning session about my period, but it's not really. I don't think that is. I've got very little experience of gaslighting, so I still find it incredibly invalidating when I do encounter it. That's in real life, so said to other people or on the media and in social media, and that is where I encounter it most often. I just think that it enforces this really sad truth that it's okay to talk about periods and menstruating when you're mocking it, which people do a lot. I mean, as Becca has mentioned, there are countless euphemisms just completely glossing over the fact that this is something natural and really unpleasant for some people. Mocking other women, so, oh, it's that time of the month, oh, no wonder she's in a bad mood, or, oh, what's wrong with you? Got a face like a slapped ass, so it must be the time of the month. That, and, you know, or complaining about it, or other women and people with uteri complaining about it. That's pretty much the only times that it is generally discussed. Anything else, any other inkling, suggestion or hint about the honest and practical truth of periods, including PMS, which I've talked about, are kind of completely banned from general conversation, to the extent that people are not even being educated, i.e. me, about something that affects nearly half the population every single month, and will do until the end of time. Anyway, thanks for watching.